All right. So Kathleen, sounds like you're in the course. You're asking like, what should you be focusing on accomplishing before the course starts? So right now, what you ought to be doing is focusing on uh, setting up your business email, choosing a market, and we ask that you choose just one market, and then start, learning your market, like just like we talked about, and then we also want you to get a pre-approval, and it can be with a vendor that we recommended, or it could be one of your own. But you got to make sure that the vendor you're working with, the lender you're working with, is somebody can who knows how to work with investors and can get you that pre-approval letter, in the
Anytime.
anytime, evening, weekends, holidays, right?
Yeah, and talk about why you need a pre-approval, because even for the people who aren't in our course, if you're thinking about starting investing in a market, you actually need a pre-approval is one of the first things you should be doing. Can you talk about that and how much the pre-approval should be for and all that stuff?
Yeah, so there's two things. You have a pre-approval, and then you have a pre-approval letter. What you're doing right now, or if for anybody who's just getting started, you want to get a pre-approval, right? You don't get the letter, you just get a pre-approval. What the pre-approval entails is they're going to look at all your finances, you send them all your documents, and then they're going to say, okay, you're a qualified buyer and you can borrow up to, let's say, $800,000, right? Okay, so then let's say you go and put an offer in, and the property is 250,000, right? But you're pre-approved up to 800,000, and this property is only 250,000. Well, you don't want a letter that says you can afford 800,000, because then the seller is going to be like, hey, this person's super rich, this is great, they can afford a lot more than 250, right? And so what you want is you want a letter that says, yes, they're pre-approved for 250, right? Because that's the exact amount you need, right? And so that's what the pre-approval letter, and also the date of the pre-approval letter has to be, very close to the time you're putting in the offer. And with properties, residential properties are anything 1 unit to 4 unit, you're going to need a pre-approval letter. Generally, you're going to need a pre-approval letter when you're submitting your offer. It's just that sellers usually want pre-approval letters. Now, when you're talking about commercial, which is 5 units or more, pre-approval letters are not common. That's not something that sellers typically ask for. And if they do ask for it, it's because they're inexperienced. They don't know what they're doing. Because you go to a bank and you say, hey, I need a pre-approval letter for this, property, they're going to just shake their head and go, you don't know what you're doing. They're going to say you're inexperienced, which is not true. It's just that the seller is asking for something that they just don't do. They'll write a letter, but it's not a formal pre-approval letter. They just say, yeah, we'll look at his stuff, and we will consider giving them a loan. You'll get some kind of basic letter that hopefully will satisfy the inexperienced seller's needs.